Hello and welcome to Totally Rovers, a Blackburn Rovers podcast by fans of the Blue and White House. Blackburn Rovers are still in search of a new manager, and we'll be covering the game against Norwich over the weekend. And we're discussing the 25-man squad, and then we'll be discussing on which managers do we reckon should come to Blackburn Rovers. On the podcast, there's myself, Luke, and we've got Liam. So, how are you doing?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, doing good, mate. Doing good. I'm enjoying the fact I've got 5 minutes peace from the bloody dog. As you saw just before we started podding, she would not leave me alone. Oh, there you go. Squeaky toy in the background. She would not leave me alone just to get
Oh,
set
it's
up and get going. But we've got some peace and quiet now, so we're ready to go.
Fantastic. Right. So Cleo's in the background then, not on the show then, like she was last week.
No, I don't think she's
So,
settled this week. She wants to made herself known.
yep, she definitely wants to be part of this pod. Anyway, we're going to talk about the game against Norwich City, which happened over the weekend. So, you were quite optimistic about Rovers getting a result against Norwich last weekend. You thought we could get a result away from home at Cow Road. Is
Yeah,
your
thanks for reminding
optimism
me of that one.
the block? Is your well, I have to remind you, I'm getting you back down to reality here. So, with the results, with how the result panned out, um, has your optimism faded? Were Blackburn Rovers is
I don't know what to say. How often am I left speechless?
the first?
Tell me about it. Oh, where do we begin? Well, I must admit, I'm starting to get nervous now that we're going to be playing League One football. I'm ever the optimist, and I'm starting to get nervous now. We are definitely deep in a relegation scrap, and every point's going to matter now, going from now to the end of the season.
Yeah, I think it's more important than ever to get points on the board now with where we are
Absolutely.
at this stage of the season. We're in the business end of the season. It doesn't matter how we do results performance wise, as long as we get the points on the board, turn
Yeah.
defeats into draws and turn draws into wins. That's imperative that we do that in order to survive and stay in the championship this season. But let's talk about the game against Norwich because we can talk about the current state of affairs with Rovers after that. We finished 2-0. What do you think went wrong with Rovers when we played Norwich over the weekend?
I think the problem we have is we push so hard at times at the pressing game, we forget that we leave ourselves exposed at the back at times. And then when we do leave ourselves exposed, we seem to panic when they get us on the counter or when they come on the counter. And it's these silly mistakes that keep happening. Generally my concern there, because I don't mind the pressing football. I like to see that. But when we do, we seem to forget about the defensive side of things. We forget about what's going on at the back end of the pitch. So when they do catch us, get the ball off us, get counter attack on us, we panic and we forget how to defend and we forget how to do the basic stuff right. I don't know if you agree with that.
Defensively, I thought we were generally all right throughout the course of the game. I think it was when we conceded that first goal that Norwich scored and then scored another one in quick succession. Our edge just completely dropped off. And what was most frustrating, I think, with the game, there's a couple of reasons. There's just some reasons I'll outline here. First one is the team selection. I thought Damien Johnson's team selection, when it came to the midfield and higher up the pitch, I thought there were a few question marks there. I thought Yukio Ashi shouldn't have started as a centre forward because let's face it, he is not a centre forward and he can't hit a ball and door at the moment. And when you've got Mateusz Jorgensen and Andrew Johnson available,
Yeah.
I think they would have been the better further up the pitch. I think they've got better instincts for goals. Well, definitely with Johnson. The jury's still out with Jorgensen. But Jorgensen seems to know where to go and where to be when it comes to try and score goals. I think he's got more of that than Oashi does. Another selection I think was wrong from Damien Johnson was playing Morishita on the left wing as opposed to the right wing. I don't think that was the right selection there.
No.
And then there's the midfield, which I think was another problem, I think, for Rovers. On paper, it looked all right, actually, with Tronstad, Baraji, and Campbell. But on the pitch or in practice, I don't think it seems to work. I think Cantwell and Baraji are too similar. I think Baraji's suited to playing a deeper line midfielder alongside Tronstad, and he's more of an attacking midfielder or a number 10, like Cantwell is. So I think that's probably where we got wrong. And I think what also was the problem we had in that midfield is that we seem to lack that energy. You know, we need a bit of energy in that midfield. I think Montgomery would have been better in that midfield alongside Tronstad to run off Tronstad, but also to run off Cantwell. I think that probably could have worked a little bit better. And on paper, he picked Miller and Alabiosu like playing together alongside each other, now occupying that right flank. I mean, on paper, that sounds like an all right idea, but I don't think it worked personally because Alabiosu and Miller being fullbacks tend to be better when they've got space up and down the flanks. And I don't think they had the space from how I see that would work. And I just thought that was a little bit of a
So there's a couple of
selection
things for
that,
me.
yeah.
One, taking Miller off was where it all started to fall apart anyway. You take Miller off, one of our key assets for defending. He's been brilliant for us this season. He's been a cracking signing. And yet, you take Miller off and suddenly the floodgates open. And that's no coincidence, in my opinion.
Well, that
Secondly,
reiterates the point with the selection as well.
well,
Go on.
true. Secondly, I think just because he's our highest earner doesn't mean we have to play him every game. I don't think he's quite there at the moment, Campbell. I'm not trying to be mean. I just don't think he's quite there at the moment. I personally would have liked to have seen someone like Christy Montgomery or someone alongside Tronstad. Somebody could play the deeper line midfield role alongside Tronstad and maybe give him Baraji a run up there. And maybe just give Campbell a deserved break. I mean, they've rushed him back from his injury. He's playing all the time. He just doesn't look right at the moment. Maybe rest him a bit. Thirdly,
Yeah,
I agree with you with the Ohashi thing with Jorgensen and Johnson both available to play instead of him up front. However, I'm not as upset about that one. Ohashi will run his socks off. He'll terrorize that defense. He'll chase everything down. Fair enough. He's just not. He's not tall and strong enough for the balls get crossed into box. Them sort of balls being played in. That's
and
the
he's not a
downside of
natural
Ohashi.
finisher, right? And he's not a natural finisher either.
Maybe not.
Reiterating your point about selections as well, this can go to the substitutions that Johnson made. I thought DJ was a bit too slow with being proactive and making changes. When Norwich made the changes, they made them at a good time. I thought it could have been done about the hour mark, roughly,
Yeah.
when no team looked like scoring. I think just to see the game out and to try and salvage a point away from home against an informed Norwich side, I think it would have been we're looking in hindsight here. I think Carter should have come off and Miller should have took up
Yes.
the right centre back position instead of
Yeah.
O'Riordan.
I wouldn't have
Just
complained
to
about
have
that
that
at all.
experience, just to see the game out.
And Carter's only
Whether or
just
not
come
it
back
made
as
a
well.
difference,
There's a lot to ask him
yeah.
to be fully fit, fully focused for 90 minutes.
That's true. That's true. Whether or not that would have been a difference of us, I'm not entirely sure on that. But I thought Good Johnson should have been put on sooner, particularly when we were in need for goals. But goals wasn't just the only issue here. We were sort of bereft of creativity going forward. And we just seemed like a team that's shot confidence. And I mean, we've been on a very poor run under Ishmael. And rebuilding that confidence is not going to be an overnight thing.
No, it's not.
But it reiterates the point you said about Cantwell. I just thought Cantwell hasn't shown any leadership, not in
No.
that game in particular. When you're in a position where you've got to get points and there is that pressure, you've got to take games by the scruff of the neck, grab the bull by the horns. I don't think Cantwell has that sort of attitude to approach games by taking them by the scruff of the neck. We need some more warriors on the squad, not somebody who's just sulking and dropping their heads when things aren't going well. There needs to be a bit more fight in us. And
Yeah.
I think that was quite frustrating. And now we lost the game against
Which is
Norwich.
why it's
That lack of
frustrating that we
fight.
took Miller off. Because Miller's the sort of player that will bring you that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cashin and Tronstad, they seem to be characters on the pitch that show a bit of fight in them. And you could say, oh, Ashley and Morishita do to a degree because they work their socks off. They give it their all as well. But I just think it's the confidence is shot, absolutely shot. I mean, Carter did a very good clearance actually before we conceded a goal as well from a set piece, which is not something we really talk about as clearances and set pieces. But another player that I'm not convinced of how he's been doing for Rovers is Sean McLaughlin. I mean, he just runs around like a hellish chicken. There's countless times he gets caught out, particularly when it comes to set pieces, not fighting for duels. He's more reactive rather than proactive. And I felt he was like that in the game as well. Very frustrating. But a very frustrating way to lose a game.
It's just
what it looked
disheartening because it feels like there was just nothing there once we went behind, there was nothing there to give us any hope that we could come back. And I think part of that was like I say, decisions, like Miller being taken off. I personally, like you say, I agree. I think Carter should have been taken off. Playing Carter too much after he's just come back from injury, expected to be fully sharp and up to scratch after having such a long layoff. When you've got a player like Miller that's playing so well for us, it just seemed like the wrong move to make all day long.
Yeah, I'm not meaning just Carter being taken off. I thought Miller should have played as a right centre back instead of
That's what I
O'Reilly.
mean.
Games
That's
like that
yeah.
where we need to get points on the board. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying that it would have made all difference, but there's a possibility we could have used Miller's. So he's more streetwise than O'Reilly because of his age and experience, and he's got that mentality to sort of like fight on and see games out. I'm not saying O'Reilly doesn't have that mentality and that fight because he's a young lad at the end of the day. So I'm going to cut him a bit of slack there. So I'm not going to go. I sound like a little bit too harsh on him, but I think we're all in agreement about Todd Campbell's leadership or lack of leadership. I mean, he's our highest paid player. He's arguably the technically most gifted player in our squad, and I just think the attitude with Cantwell is rubbing up the fan base in the wrong way. But it was a very disappointing way to lose a game. I was just so dejected with how it all ended, and now we're back in the bottom three, and we've definitely got a fight in our hands for whoever takes over as a club's manager. So we'll go on to the management hunt, which is still going as we're recording on the Tuesday evening. Obviously, there's been links to managers. Gary Rowett has been one that's been linked. We've got Michael O'Neill and Neil Harris was another one, and Dean Smith. I think I raised my eyebrows about Harris and Dean Smith being mentioned, and even Michael O'Neill because he's currently in a job as well, managing the Northern Ireland national team. And Rovers, for years, haven't gone for managers who are currently in a job. They're not willing to fork out compensation just to get a football manager in one job to come and join us. I think the last time we did that was when we got Michael Appleton from Blackpool, if memory serves me right. So, with them managers linked to Rovers, yeah, yeah, that went down like a lead balloon.
Personally, if I'm thinking if we're going to get somebody that's a manager already somewhere else, I'd be looking at, and I said it last time, I'd personally be looking at a manager, and they have been linked in the bookies list and all that lot. They've not been linked in terms of newspapers and all that lot. But I'd be looking at either someone like the Lincoln manager or the Stockport manager.
You're more for an up-and-coming League One manager as opposed to an experienced
One that's
Championship
doing
manager.
extremely well, that's doing very well with a squad that they're having to build themselves and all that lot. Because I think they do a good job of our youth as well as the players that we've got in there. That's what I'm looking at in that sense. I think they do a cracking job with our youth because we've got a very, very good youth academy. And I think they might do a good job with that personally. Building the team and taking it forward.
Are you looking at that like long term? Like, say, if we get, hypothetically speaking, of course, say we get relegated to League One, they come to us and go, right, we know what it takes to get out of League One. Should we be in that situation? Is that your like train of thought when it comes to getting a League One manager?
That makes sense, but I'd give them the opportunity to try and keep us up. But worst case, if they can't keep us up and we go down, they seem to have an idea on how League One works, and they've got they're smashing it in League One. I'd give them an opportunity personally to get us fired straight back up, then and maybe let them have a crack at the Championship from a fresh start. That'd be me personally. That's just an idea I had. I don't know whether people would agree with that one. It's just an idea I had because let's be honest, some of the options that we've been floated around and that have been thrown about, I don't like the look of some of them. Some of them look just like desperate tactics. Desperate, are we going to go down the same route of have another manager in that we're going to get fed up of after 6 to 8 months? If we're going to go down, I want a manager that's going to take us forward rather than. I don't want us to think about going down, and I still don't think we will go down. I'm still staying optimistic, but I do think it all comes down to who we have appointed as manager as well.
Interesting. I honestly think a Championship Premier manager is the safer route for me personally. I think what your suggestion is more of a risky route. I think Gary Rowett sticks out for me.
I don't like it.
Of managing. You don't like it, but I think it's the best option.
No, fair enough. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I just don't like the sound of that one. Just my personal preference.
But when you look at his track record with what he did at Birmingham, what he did at Millwall, and even what he did at Oxford as well, because he saved Oxford last season as well. And,
he falls out management.
He's got the experience there. Yeah, but let me finish. And also look at the work he did. He sticks around at football clubs as well. He stuck around at Millwall for a bit of time, didn't he? He was at Birmingham for a bit of time. And when he took over the clubs where they were fighting to survive in a championship, when they left, they were on the fringe of like going for the playoffs and surviving comfortably in the league. So that carries a lot of weight for us. That's a strong argument for having Gary Rowett. And he works with young players as well. When you look at the players at the disposal that we've got, not just the ones that we've got now, and some of the experienced players, I think he knows how to get a good tune out of players. And he's dogmatic, pragmatic. I think it's a good shout, personally. Michael O'Neill's an interesting one. Because he's managed in the EFL as well. You know, he's got plenty of experience there. I mean, he was at Stoke City, wasn't he? To my knowledge. And Dean Smith is a weird one. I wasn't expecting to see his name crop up as a candidate or manager linked to Blackburn Rovers. But he's got EFL experience, hasn't he, from managing Norwich and managing Brentford and Aston Villa. So there's a wealth of experience there. And he's worked with like limited resources and knows how to push teams forward. So, but he's not been managing English football for some time, which could count against Dean Smith. And Neil Harris I thought that was a bit of a wild card one, to be honest. I mean, make no mistake, he did a great job at Millwall, getting them from League One to surviving in the Championship and surviving comfortably in the Championship. I mean, with the limited resources that they had at the time and making something out of little or nothing. I think there's a good, shout for Harris on that regard. I know he's currently managing in League Two at the moment, but he's got a wealth of experience of managing EFL. And when he left Millwall and when he left Cardiff City, his reputation was intact as well. He didn't exactly leave on bad terms, from what I see anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's my argument for the a more experienced manager who've managed in the EFL and Championship. I
No,
mean,
fair enough.
they've been there, they've done that, and I think they can have what it takes to
I'm
steer
not
Rovers
disagreeing
to
with you there.
safety and potentially keep them up.
I think a Championship proven manager would be a good option, just whether we can get one in. I do think Gary Rowett's a risk in the sense that, and yes, in terms of the footballing side, perfect. But at the moment, with the way things are going, the owners aren't going anywhere. The people running the club aren't going anywhere anytime soon. Do we need that distraction for the players when we've got a relegation battle going on, of a manager coming in, it then starts to fall out with the management and the owner and the people running the club, and that could then spark. We just need somebody who comes in, just gets stuck in with the team and just sticks with the team and just focus on the team the whole time. That's my only worry with Gary Rowett, because he's known for falling out with the people running the club and the owners and that lot.
I think it's a risk worth taking, to be honest, where Rowett's concerned. If you're looking at it
Fair
like
enough.
that, I
Fair
think
enough.
there's more of a reward of that for taking that
I
risk.
mean, we all are fed up with the owners. We're all fed up with the way the club's being run. But at the end of the day, if we want to stay in this division now, we need to focus on the team primarily. And whoever comes in is going to have to be doing that. Forget about the owners and that lot till the summer. Forget about who's in charge at the club for until the summer, and just focus on what the job at hand, which is getting that team to survive in that league. That primarily is what I want whoever comes in to do, to come in and do.
Yeah, yeah, it's not going to be an easy pull, is it? Like what you
No,
said, the owners, the
who's going to
regime,
want to come and do that?
Rudy,
That's the question.
Pasha. You've got the owners that are in a web of legal issues, and I'm not just talking the case in India. You've got the case with Macron as well, the kit supplier.
Yep.
There's a
Mhm.
legal issue
Oh,
there. So we're both on the very different opinions, aren't we, of which type of manager we
yeah.
should get coming into Rovers. I apologise if I'm laughing. For those that are listening, Liam's dog Cleo is happily video bombing us while we're actually talking Blackburn Rovers.
You
So
decided she's going
we've
to come
got a
up and
guest.
join him, and you
got,
can just see my head
got
poking out
Rich
of the
on.
back of her.
He's stealing the show, isn't he?
She certainly is, aren't you, Cleo?
Anyway,
Anyway,
oh,
yeah, no, whoever we get needs to be able to get knuckled down and do the job. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I think somebody with a championship experience would be better suited. I was just looking at both sides of the barrel. Somebody could do, like I said, when I was saying somebody who's doing really well in League One, they know what it takes in that division if we don't manage to survive. And they seem to be all right at building their own squad, which, well, let's be honest, we may have to look at doing that come next season if the academy doesn't, with the academy, if we don't stay up, because we may lose some players.
mm. Well, that ultimately depends, sorry, on where we finish in the season, whether we
Absolutely.
stay in the championship, whether we're in the championship next season, or whether we're in League One next season. But what's also make it easier on our part to get a manager like Rowett in charge is the fact that Watford were in the looking for a manager. Now they've appointed Will Still's brother, haven't they? Edward Still.
Yeah.
He's got no experience in the championship or in English football. I mean, that's a bit of a risky move. You've got West Brom. They've appointed another inexperienced manager. They're in trouble right now. They've on a bit of a free fall. And then you've
Yeah.
got Leicester. There's a bit of a basket case club now,
Well, they've just had
as
6
they've got
point
a point.
deduction, haven't
They've had a points deduction. They've got the same number of points as us. They're only above us on goal difference. So I could imagine Leicester going to be in a fair bit of trouble going forward with this points deduction. They might be transfer embargoes as well. That sort of thing. You'll know like what Hull are in at the moment.
they? Yeah.
So there could be something like that might be harder to get a new manager in because they might think, well, with this issue with the points deduction, we might not be able to have money to spend or the backing to get players that are wanting to push the club back up, hopefully back to the Premier League in their case. But obviously, it's not going to be the case now with Leicester. That's going to be staying up and surviving in a championship because the last thing they
Exactly.
want is to do a Luton with a back-to-back relegation. And then you've got Oxford in our situation as well. They're looking to survive. And then you've got Charlton as well. They're in a
Yeah.
situation with us as well. I mean, our season can hinge on who we appoint to replace Ishmael, but it's also quite concerning that if Rovers happen to stay up, it could be the fact that other clubs around us have seriously messed up. And I'm talking West Brom and Leicester here, because they're
Yeah.
the ones that have seriously messed up as well. But we've also messed up as well. I mean, there's a trio of basket case clubs there, isn't there, in the championship in a relegation battle. So that's the management hunt on. Who do you reckon is likely to come to Rovers? Who do you think should come to Rovers? Let us know in the comment section. So we're going to talk about the 25-man squad, which was announced last week. But with the way the rules are set out by the EFL, players born after the 1st of January 2004 are eligible to play and don't have to be registered. So we can have Christian Montgomery in our team, Tom Atchison, Matty Litherland, Nathan Delamini, the academy players. But there's obviously been two players that have been missed out, Ryan Hedges and George Pratt, that raised my eyebrows. What was your thoughts on the team selection?
Well, I think the Hedges one was kind of obvious. He's going to be out for pretty much the rest of the season. Okay, he might be due back sometime in April, but by the time he gets up to scratch, seems going to be pretty much over. I think that's a logical move in him. Pratt is an interesting one. I mean, yes, okay, they're saying they've got plenty of cover at the back now with likes of Miller, McLaughlin, Carter, Wharton, or Reardon. They've got plenty of cover there, so they don't need him. I get that, but you've just recalled him from Chorley to come back and help us out in a period where we did need him. It kind of feels like a slap in the face for a kid who did all right when he came in and got played for us. Personal opinion, and I know this is going to be a bit of a what's the one? Cause a bit of a controversy, maybe.
I'm intrigued. Go on,
And I
tell me.
do feel bad for the player himself because it might not all necessarily be his fault. But personally, I would have thought, going off his form and the mistakes he's been making recently, I would have happily dropped Deneve and kept
Yeah,
Pratt in.
I would have dropped Tavares to put George Pratt on. My thinking of that is that we've got Montgomery in midfield, who is higher up the pecking order than
Yeah,
Tavares. I don't think Tavares has done enough to get himself a place in that 25-man squad, personally. And I know he's been injured, but when he's been on, he's not really been that convincing. He's not putting a convincing performance for me over the other midfielders. And I get what you mean with George Pratt, because we have got plenty of left-footed left centre backs. Obviously, with
yeah,
Cashin coming in on loan and being another left back,
yeah.
you could see that it's pushed him down the pecking order. But I think Cashin and George Pratt would have worked quite well on that left side of the back line. I think George Pratt has a bit more nous in him. He's more of a physical presence. Sean McLaughlin, arguably, I think he's more that. I just think he's naturally a better defender, technically a better defender than Sean McLaughlin, despite the
Yeah.
fact that he's a youngster that's come through our academy. I think I personally think so anyway. But Hedges, yeah, I think it's a shame. I think he's been a great performer for us throughout the season. I think he's been missed, very much missed, with him being injured, with that energy, that drive, and some leadership that he shows on the pitch as well. He's
Yeah.
been a great miss, Ryan Hedges, but obviously due to his long-term injury and being back by April at the earliest, I can sort of see why they haven't put Hedges in, because obviously he'll need that time to cover. He won't be match fit before the season ends, so it makes sense to not include Hedges in there. But overall, I'm not. I'm generally all right with a 25-man squad, but I
I'm
think
not
I would have
upset at
swapped
the
Pratt
squad. I just think,
for Tavares.
yeah, I'm not upset at the squad at all. My personal preference was, I think Pratt should have stayed in there just because he's earned it in my opinion. Whereas I think Tavares would be harsh because he had been injured for quite a long period and he's only just starting to get up to scratch at the pace of the league. You've got a player like Deneve who has played most of the season, hasn't really been out injured, who just doesn't seem to be getting that the amount of mistakes he makes and the amount of times he looks like he's not interested to track back. That for me personally is what made me choose Deneve out of anybody I was going to drop. And it's not me trying to be nasty towards Deneve. It's just what I've seen from him has made me feel like I'm not trying to target any player really. If I could have them all in the team, then I'd have them all. But if I have to pick one, he'd be the one that stands out at the moment for me as being maybe not quite good enough for the team.
I get where you're coming from about Deneve, but that's not entirely his fault. He's been exposed,
Maybe
like
so.
defensively, because he's been played just as a wing back. His strengths are on going on the attack, and I think Ismael has not played to his strengths really. That's been
Maybe
part of the
so.
problem as well. But one thing with Deneve is, it does
If
stay
you are
fit
playing as a wing back, you need to be
throughout.
willing to track back.
That's true. That's true. But he's not naturally wing back. This is the point I was saying here. And if you play Deneve as more of a left winger as opposed to a left back or a wing back, I think we'll get more out of him. That's the argument I have there. You can sort of see where I'm coming from. You're never really going to get the best of a player who plays out of position, are you? I mean, look at
No,
Taylor Gardner-Hickman when he's played as a right wing back. You know, he was awful, absolutely awful.
not debating that. My only point with that was if he's playing week in, week out, and he knows he's playing week in, week out in a position that is not his best position, that he knows he's not best at playing, but to keep getting picked to play there, then you've got to start showing, right, okay, I want to prove that I earn myself in this position in the team by willing to track back, willing to do the dirty work. At the time, he just didn't seem like he was interested in doing so. He only seemed interested in doing the
Yeah.
one thing going forward, not the other part of it. And for me, if you're playing as a wing back and you know you get selected as a wing back, you've got to be willing to do that part of the game as well. Simple as that.
And there lies the point that I said again. It reiterates the point that he should be played higher up the pitch, not as a wing back or as a left back. I don't think it's good for Deneve's skill set, to be
No,
honest. But there's not many options on that left hand side either, as well, which probably one of the reasons he has been included in the squad. Because the left hand side and that left wing,
we've
you've
got a
got
few now.
Cardboard. Yeah, you've got Cardboard, you've got what's the name? Jorgensen and a four-lane players on the right, and you've got Morishita on the right. Owashi can play on the right. And obviously there isn't many options going down that left hand side on the attack anyway. So I think they've kept him on there as an option as well, more
Fair
for
enough.
attacking reasons rather than defensive reasons. So I think that sums up our 25-man squad, don't we? Because we're very much in agreement that Hedges, it's unfortunate he's not in the squad. And we're both in
It's
agreement that George
unfortunate.
are in the squad.
If he was fit, I definitely would be saying Deneve out and obviously Hedges in because Hedges, for me, was one of our better players till he got injured. But unfortunately, circumstances arise and he's not probably going to be back fully fit before the end of the season. Even if he is, it might only be for a game or two. Is it really worth taking somebody else's spot away from for one, maybe two bit part of game appearances? Personally, I think
Yeah.
it was the right call to make there. The Pratt one is a little bit of a disappointment for me, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah. I think we're both in agreement that Pratt should be in there. We're just debating and who Pratt should take the
Take the
place of
spot off.
another player, basically. Yeah. So you reckon
But
it
we
should
have
be
our
Dion
reasons,
Deneve?
and that's fine. But
Yeah,
always have to agree,
and
don't
I
we?
reckon, yeah, absolutely. That's what makes it interesting. The world would be a boring
Exactly.
place if we all agreed and liked the same thing. But you think Dion Deneve should be taken out with Pratt? Think Cine Tavares. So the jury's out for you, listeners and viewers. What do you think? What do you think of our 25-man squad? Obviously, do you think any players should be in there that isn't in there, or is there any players that are in there that shouldn't be in there? Let us know in the comment section. The next game is this weekend away from home against Queen's Park Rangers. So QPR are currently mid-table. They're 44 points. They've accumulated 44 points and they're 3 from the playoffs. I mean, a while back, they were pretty much down in the mire with us, weren't they? They had a pretty slow start to the season, but they have, as the season's gone ticking on, they're plodding along quite nicely, aren't they, QPR?
Oh yes.
And the form's been all right. they've drawn 3, lost 1, and won 2. The home form is actually quite good at the moment for QPR, so
They're not a
that
bad
doesn't
side.
exactly No, that doesn't exactly breathe confidence, does it, on our part? How do you think Rovers are going to do against QPR?
It's going to be tough. Going to be tough. And maybe logic tells me I should start thinking like you do, with the fact that these tougher games aren't easy, and the way we played against Norwich isn't good, and this, that, the other. But I'm going to stick true to my word because we need to stop picking up points somewhere. I'm going to stick true to my word and I'm going to stay optimistic. I think we can go there and grab a point and bring a point back at least. I'd love it if we could snatch 3. Love it if we could snatch 3, but I'll happily come back with a point from QPR.
If we get a point away from home against QPR, I consider that a good result. But there are some teams around us that are actually playing during the week as well, due to cup ties from whoever they're playing or vice versa. So we've got a bit more respite, which could help in our favour. It's a really, really tough call because we don't know. As we're speaking now, Blackburn Rovers don't have a manager in, and by the
Absolutely.
weekend we might have a new manager in. So
We could do.
could there be a new manager bounce, or could we still be down in the doldrums? Who knows? But
We'll find
um,
out soon enough.
maybe I'm being, pessimistic, but you could say realistic. I don't think we're going to get anything against QPR.
I
If we
kind
get a
of saw that
draw,
coming.
I'd happily take it. I thought I'd take a draw against QPR away from home, given the
I
form
kind
that
of
they're
saw
on
that
at the
outcome
moment.
coming from you. I kind of saw you say, I just, if I,
Yeah.
if I was playing the lottery tonight and you said, what would Luke say if he got a result? I'd turn around and say, he probably doesn't see us getting anything against them.
I'm such a
It's the hope that
negative
kills you, like you say.
Nigel Arner. Yeah. Um,
No, I'm going to
but
stay optimistic and I'm going to say that we can get a draw against these.
I think it'd be a
I err
respectable
on the
result.
side of optimism. I always try to stay optimistic, mate. What's the point in expecting the worst all the time? Be hopeful of
Right,
something good.
right. Well, I know you'll say I'm being pessimistic, but I would argue that I'm being realistic here. So
No, this is
that's how
true.
I see it right now. But the reverse fixture, that was an absolute dire game. There was absolutely nothing in it, and there was just that goal that separated the sides and defined the game. And QPR left Ewood Park with 3 points. It'll be a tough one. So, what are your thoughts of the game ahead against QPR? Do you think Rovers could do? What's your score predictions? Let us know in the comment section. What would your score prediction be against QPR? I'm probably going to say 1-0 QPR.
I don't think there'll be as many as 2 goals each, so I'll go 1-1.
Yeah, that's the
I
results
wanted
we've
to say I
predicted.
wanted to say 2-2 originally, but I don't see it being a high scoring game. So I'm gonna go 1-1.
No. Mm. Well, it could be a 0-0 potentially, if you're going to be optimistic in that way as well, I suppose.
It could well be, yeah. But no, I'll say
Yeah.
1-1.
So I predict a 1-0 loss, and Liam predicts a 1-1 draw. Again, what are your predictions? How do you think Rovers do? Let us know in the comment section. So that wraps everything up with Blackburn Rovers, doesn't it, as well? We're on the hunt for a new manager. I think we better get one in sooner rather than later.
Fingers
It's
crossed.
uncertain times. Yeah, well, we're going to have to, aren't we? Fingers crossed. So that wraps up everything with Blackburn Rovers so far. And knowing our luck, as we finish recording and uploading, we've probably got a new gaffer coming through the door, haven't we?
Helping us all. Look, yeah, we get the
Yeah.
podcast done tonight, get it edited and out, posted tomorrow, and then some Wednesday or Thursday there'll be a manager announced. It'll just be our luck. But there you go.
So that wraps everything up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. and we'll see you next time with Totally Rovers, and hopefully we'll get a new manager in. So we'll see you next time. And then
Cleo would say goodbye,
soon.
but I think she's falling asleep on my lap, so I'll say goodbye for me and Cleo. Goodbye, everybody.
No woof woof there.
No woof woof this time. She's snoring away.
Bless her. Right,
Cheerio,
so
everybody.
that's everyone. Cheerio, everyone.